Doug Young was one of the strongest bench pressers of all time, and he trained very similarly to gymnastics. I think he was the gymnast within the powerlifting setup. This is what I refer to Doug Young as. Let's see what we can learn from Doug Young, strength legend, strength giant, and apply it to gymnastics today. Who was Doug Young? Doug Young is a 1970s legend, a power lifter that specialized in the bench press, but was generally very strong. He totaled more than 2,000 pounds squat bench deadlift raw, okay, breaking his all-time 612 pounds raw bench press wearing nothing but t-shirt. That's what we're all about, hanging rings on tree branches, doing feats of strength bare raw, right? He was extremely strong. The first man to bench above 600 pounds, below 300 pound body weight. The first man I think who benched above 600 in general was Pat Casey, but he weighed about 320 pounds. Doug Young did it at about 260 pounds body weight. So that's very strong. That's great relative strength on the bench, way more than twice body weight bench press. And the man was huge. The man had presence. You can look at the picture, extremely handsome man and big and strong, but that wasn't always the case. And I want us to learn from Doug Young today. In 1973, Doug still weighed about 178 pounds. That's about 81 kilograms, and benched 305 pounds. Sounds amazing? No. How did Doug Young get so strong in such short period of time? In 8 months, Doug took his bench press from 305 into 540. He added about 240 pounds to his bench press in 8 months. No joke. And competed, okay? And bulked from 178 pounds all the way up to 250 pounds. So he bulked a lot, but he got relatively stronger in the bench press as well. So he didn't pack a ton of fat mass while somewhat getting strong as well. He got tremendously stronger, much outweighing the mass that he gained, showing that the bulk was very clean, not a lot of fat, basically pure performance, which is admirable, and he did that in 8 months. This is something that I think we should highlight in this video, as a lot of people do bulk a lot, but they don't increase their relative strength, which is your strength per pound of body weight. And ultimately, when you're trying to move your body weight, if your goals are the planche, handstand push-up, one-arm chin-up, front lever, iron cross, you want to test your strength per pound of body weight. So as you are getting stronger and maybe adding size, you want to track your lifts, so you're always strong comparative in percentage to your body weight. Not just in absolute terms lifting more, but also in comparison to your body weight. What was the program that Doug is most famous or known for, and how he actually went about achieving this immense strength, bulk and size in such a short period of time? The program that Doug did at the time, when he bulked and got stronger, was 3 days of upper body training. This is why I call Doug Young the gymnastics training in a powerlifting setup. He trained 3 days a week, just the upper body, Mondays, Wednesday, and Fridays, and basically only trained lower body once every 7 to 10 day, rotating max single deadlift and max single squats, rotating between them every 7 to 10 days to get very strong nervous systemly, but save most of your time and your fatigue into bench press performance, which was his specialty. Sound familiar? 3 days of smashing the upper body like a gymnast with a lot of exercises and doing some lower body training, right? The program was Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Bench press, build up to heavy single. Every session, Doug Young build into a heavy single. Top single for the day, okay? It is basically an auto-regulation method where you don't have prescribed numbers. You have an idea maybe of roughly what you will hit, give or take a few dozen pounds, but it is heavy enough. You build something that is heavy enough for the day, a few singles, and then Doug backed off, still with the bench press, about 50 pounds, did as many reps as possible, maybe a set of 5 or 6, and then Doug backed off again for a second back off set of higher reps, doing sets of even 10, 12, or 15 with even less weight. And that was the bench press session. But it didn't stop there. Even though the majority of lifters at that time mostly trained the squat, bench, and deadlift to get stronger at the squat, bench, and deadlift, which is understandable and generally speaking true and necessary, it doesn't mean that it should comprise all of your training. You can add on top of it. And add, Doug Young did. He went to perform about extra 30 to 40 total sets of various upper body only accessory exercises to bulk up into his frame and support his bench press performance. We are talking about 6 sets of every accessory exercise. That's a ton of volume. Doing chest flies, front deltoid raises, lateral raises, doing tricep extension, doing hammer curls, bicep curls, doing dumbbell rows, ton of just isolation and compound dumbbell exercises to fill up his frame. Doug built from, remember, 178 all the way up to 250 pounds with an insane, admirable physique in just 8 months, and took his bench from 305 all the way up to 540. What's special about Doug's routine and how we can apply it into gymnastics if you want to learn handstand push-up, if you want to learn Maltese, iron cross, everything, okay? Everything strength training, right? Every skill that you want to learn, what can we apply into that from Doug's Young routine? We can learn a few things. First is that, generally speaking, from your standpoint, okay, and that depends really on your background, what you used to do prior to training, what is classic gym, was it different? From your standpoint to elite gymnast, and we are looking at elite gymnast just to have the functions in mind. So elite gymnast is where we're aiming for, because if you're after ring strength or bodyweight skills and strength, gymnast represents that, and they perform the functions that we are after. They have a certain build, and from my standpoint and from your standpoint, all the way up from where we are to the ring gymnast, there is muscle mass to be built. There's a gap between how we look and how they look, and therefore perform, or the other way around. But it means that we need to support it. If there's an hypertrophy gap, muscle mass gap, not necessarily general weight. You might be very big, but you have maybe chunky legs that is mostly irrelevant to gymnast performance. But you can look at the gymnast, and where gymnasts are very, very strong and hypertrophy, where they are big, and you definitely lack probably shoulder size, forearm size, you lack elbow flexor and triceps and upper back. They are extremely strong, relatively strong in those muscle groups, and they are mostly known for them. They are popping off of their physique, and there are a lot of mass to be built around this gymnast specific. Not unique, but they are very strong and developed among gymnasts between where we are and where they are. And if there's a gap in hypertrophy, it means that we need to support it by training the right way and by eating the right way. And Doug Young did those two things. He ate a lot to get that big, and he went probably and did a very hard bulk that might not be necessary for you. You don't need to get 250 pounds body weight. The best gymnasts are not 250 pounds, but they are also very, very small and short, and average people will weigh more. Getting muscular into the gymnastics physique to increase their performance is what not a lot of people really understand, because the chest, the back, the arms, the shoulder, everything needs to hypertrophy, and that means weight, it means size, and you need to support it with nutrition. So you probably might be doing link bulking or main gaining because you don't or you can't really pack on fat a lot. You need to be very light with your body weight, but you didn't need to be in a calorie surplus to support it. This is not a nutrition video. If there's an hypertrophy gap and you have weaknesses, areas that you lack size and strength compared to gymnast, that's where accessories can be inserted to accelerate the progress, okay? We talk a lot about specificity in calisthenics. And calisthenics, remember, is a very young sport. Calisthenics is a very, very young sport. I think calisthenics is basically around as long as social media, okay? Obviously, it has some Greek roots. Yes, everybody did bodyweight training to a certain extent, but calisthenics in its current competitive form is a very young sport. We can look at gymnastics, which is here for about a century, and learn more about it. And gymnasts don't just do. We take the best, okay? Patrunius, we take Lu Yang, we take Artur Zanetti, we take Yuri Van Gelder, we take the strongest ring athletes, right? None of them just did the competitive lifts or the planche, the Victorian, the Iron Cross as means of their training, even though it's the most specific. None of them did just the ring routine, year round, year after year, or 4-year cycle into the next Olympic cycle. Sports that are performing at a much higher level because the depth of knowledge and experience is there. So will calisthenics, okay? Stronger, smarter people will come to calisthenics in a century that will develop them if we'll still be around. But for now, we can't take specificity for granted as if we should only do the planche and front lever because that's our goal. None of the elite gymnastics, the best gymnasts, just train planche and front lever or just the ring routine. They do a ton of circuits, they do a ton of mobility, they do a ton of extra strength work, body weight only, and dumbbells and barbells and weighted calisthenics, besides the specific lifts. I'm not saying that you should not perform them, but it shouldn't comprise all of your training. And Doug understood that, even if it was very unique style of training to that time where most people just squat, bench, and deadlift, and maybe a few variations, close grip bench, or stiff-legged deadlift, or Romanian deadlift, or high bar squat, or low bar squat. These were the small variations. And maybe volume training was doing the bench for sets of 6, 8, or 10, but certainly not doing 6, 7, 8 other accessories. And that's where I think Doug brought up something new and was so-called the pioneer of power building 4. Now, doing a ton of accessories to accelerate the progress in his weaknesses, to fill up his frame to the amount of size that was necessary to be as strong as he was. Accessories are about your weaknesses and also your strength. Ed Cohn said, compete with your strength, train your weaknesses. Okay, we are not just looking to get our weaknesses stronger. Everyone has their own advantages, utilize them. They actually do the ones that you are shining for, but you don't want to be lagging so much behind in certain muscle groups or areas. Now, some people believe that we shouldn't do accessories at all. So your body will you will do, let's say, a planche, and your body will form according to the planche. I find that very young athletes that basically build themselves within the sport or started basically morphing their body by training the sport, it will be more true for them. But people that come from various backgrounds into gymnastics or calisthenics will have severe weaknesses. And when you train that over time, that can really increase the rate of injury, muscular imbalance, and so on. And just really puts a low ceiling for your performance. I want to give you an example.
Here's a good example of how accessories can really target a weakness to help unlock a bigger skill or compound movement. By targeting my biceps using the pelican curls, the video you see on the left, an isolated fashion using the rings, I was able to really strengthen them for a skill that only after I was able to first unlock, which is the inverted muscle up, or as known as the elevator, where you basically have to curl your whole body weight, which was by far my weakest link in the movement. I was already able to do handstand push-up. I was already able to do handstand on rings. I just lacked the bicep strength.
The compound or the calisthenics skills, if that's your main goal, should still comprise the majority of your training. But by doing 10 to 20 minutes after all of the skill compound movements that you are doing, 10 to 20 minutes targeted accessory work, you can get very, very strong in a short period of time because you are targeting, isolating small areas that are already relatively weak, and something that is weak can get stronger relatively fast, right? Diminishing returns. If it's very weak, it has a lot of room for growth. Now, how to identify your weaknesses so you know which accessories you should do. Doug Young did chest flies, he did dumbbell rows, he did hammer curls, tricep extension, front delt, lateral raises. Those are great general upper body movements to support the bench and just general performance. But does it really apply to calisthenics and gymnastics? Not necessarily. You have two ways. First is to look at the gymnast or a top calisthenic athlete that is already fairly developed, close to his max potential, and see what's your most lagging areas. Shoulder external rotation. They have very strong upper back. You need to get very strong at shoulder external rotation. Middle trap, elbow flexion, all motions, right? Neutral, supinated grip, you need very, very strong, perhaps the most developed area. The second thing is, besides just looking at gymnast or calisthenics athletes and seeing where maybe you're lagging, you can feel what's failing in a movement. I know myself, my left arm elbow flexor fail first within a planche. I hold it. When you take an exercise to the max, when you do it to your max, to failure, you can really see what's failing. Don't take it just somewhat close to failure. Take it all the way up to failure for like a 10-second hold and see what's failing. And feel what you sense at the end of this exercise. It might be a weakness that it is worth targeting. Those are two ways to really identify accessories. Doug Young was a gymnast in a powerlifting setup, training 3 days a week, getting strong and big in the upper body specialization. We can accelerate by learning from greats. That's the strength history lesson for today. That was Doug Young. If you enjoyed the video, like, share, and subscribe. Only if you love the video. If you want one-on-one coaching, channel in the description. Let's do a video call. See if we're a good fit. See you next time.